You stopped avoiding it. The patterns start to make a little bit more sense. Things you've ignored started connecting together. Your awareness increases once you actually look at it. There's no more confusion. There's no more chaos because we acknowledged it. What is up? What is up? What is up? Y'all miss me? I know it's been a while. Wow, no, it's been a long while. What we going on? 3 weeks? Took a vacation. Life was lifing. Then I moved down. This is your first time seeing this setup, huh? I moved down here into the actual studio that we built out in the basement, and like everything is chaotic down here. That's why you got this Raj Podge looking setup. I didn't want to just have white walls. My blue LED lights again washed out, so I had to put something, do a little bit of artwork for you guys. You know what I mean? Give y'all something to look at, right? But I know it. Like I said, man, I lost momentum for a little bit. Lost a couple of weeks. And honestly, the break was probably something I actually really did need, right? Like I said, life be life, and did take the kid away for went down to Orlando. Our goddaughter was in nationals for cheer competition down there. Um and we took the kid to actually take a quick little vacation. We was out there for about 4 or 5 days. Good break time. And like I said, moved down here, everything was chaotic, so I lost a week with that also. And then, it just turned into one of those situations where just I wasn't fully there to create, to come and speak, right? And that's probably like I probably should have gotten on and spoke, because at the same time, it's like, let's be real, let's be honest. Like we said, we're going to do on this journey together, right? But sometimes real and honest, it sounds great till you actually got to sit down and do it when there's no no feeling, no nothing, right? Um, but yeah, like I said, it was probably much needed time off. Still not fully there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but I had to get back on, because what we're not gonna do is lose all the momentum. What we're not gonna do is get back on here with each other and be real with each other. You know, mentally, creatively, emotionally, I just been off. Trying to push through, trying to create still, trying to stay in rhythm with things, but eternally something just wasn't clicking, right? For whatever reason, whether it be life, work stressors, life stressors, I don't know what it was, but I just know that for a week at least, there was just not there. And it's kind of cool though, because when I sat down, I was like, you know what, I got to get back on, regardless of the fact. Let me just get back on, um, and get with the people, talk it out, not just do it with it eternally. And then I opened up, because I got a couple episodes that I wrote out, not in any particular order. I like to do story arcs, but the way I do my story arcs, it's interchangeable. I try to do 3 episode story arcs. Um, and I opened the first one that I opened up, and I was like, oh, how fitting. It's like perfect, because this one is talking about when life is off. And I had to, once I saw that, it kind of gave me the umph that I needed to get back on, right? As chaotic as it looks right now in here, is borderline stressing me out because I'm not settled. I always like things to be settled, but at the same time, it is technically settled. It's settled to do what I needed to do. Turn the camera on, turn the mic on, and let's go. Let's we have our talking points. We have the arc. We know what we're trying to do, what we're trying to convey. So let's just do it. You know. I tell people all the time, if this is your first time with us, we're not just creating content. This is more than just a podcast. This is an open letter to ourselves and who we're becoming. A place where we could just slow it down, reflect, question things, and grow, right? And I forgot that part. Even though I was going through what I was going through eternally, I had to remember that let's grow together. I could have came on and put it. Instead, I just was away for three weeks. And then that created anxiety. That created stressors in itself because I'm like, oh my God, I'm falling. And the little viewership that I was getting, I'm going to lose all of it. And I got to start all over. And sometimes you just got to slow down, reflect, and grow, right? And figure it out in real time together, whether it's be the good, the bad, the clear moments, the not so clear moments, the messy ones too, right? Because legacy is not built in perfect seasons, and I've been saying this since episode 1, right? We can't expect it to be done in perfect seasons. That we've established that there's really no such thing as perfect. We could chase for perfection. Jay said it best. Can't be scared to fail in the search of perfection. Because we're searching for perfection. Well, we're not going to be perfect. We're not perfect people, you know? But what we do know, it's built in the moments where we're going to show up regardless. We're going to keep showing up, even while we're trying to figure things out, right? And if you've been on this journey with me, then you already know these past few episodes haven't just been about conversations. They've been about mirrors into us, what we're doing, what we're building, how we're defining it, how we're building it, how we're living it, right? And today's episode might be the most relatable one yet. So let's dive deep into it. Let's talk about it a little bit. There are moments in life where everything looks fine. Nothing's falling apart, nothing's going wrong, but something still just doesn't feel right. I mean, you're showing up, right? You're handling your responsibilities, doing what you're supposed to do. But internally, something just feels loud. It's not like it's loud. It's not like it's screaming. It's not like it's so obvious. It's just something you can't easily explain. And it's in those moments, the quiet feelings that something just isn't clicking the way that it should. You ever go through a whole day, get things done, check the boxes, and when everything slows down, you sit there and think, why doesn't this feel right? Not because something went wrong, but just because something feels missing. And the confusing part about the whole matter is on the outside, everything actually does still look good. You're making progress. You're doing what you said you was going to be doing. But internally, there's a disconnect. And most of the time, we don't stop long enough to look at it. We just keep going. We're going to stay busy. We're going to distract ourselves. We're going to push through it because that's how we built. You know, we've talked about it before. Like, staying busy doesn't mean you're actually being productive, right? We'll tell ourselves, I'm good. I'm going to figure it out. Oh, it's just a phase. But deep down, we know something's not right. And the truth is, feeling off is so confusing, but at the same time, it's a signal. And if you don't slow down long enough to recognize it, you'll keep moving. Just not in a direction that actually feels right for you. So then it just keeps bellowing up and it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. And then you just feel more lost, more chaotic. Then you get frustrated. You get pissed. You get down on yourself. You're starting to feel sad. So today we're not rushing in to fix anything. I'm not a therapist. I got 3 professionals that are on my team. And they don't know about each other. I mean, they know about each other, but they don't like share notes or anything. But I work with 3 professionals for a reason. Because I'm trying to be better, grow better. But I can't fix everything all at once. We're not going to sit here and try to force answers. We're not sitting here trying to understand what the feeling was. I'm just gonna try to tell you because it's not random. It's pointing you somewhere. And the thing is, what I came to realize is I still ain't figured it out. To be completely honest, I still ain't figured it out. I don't know if I've ever talked to you guys about this on here, but I do go through spells of depressions from time to time. I have my own mental stuff, and as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a husband, as many titles as you wear, the burden gets heavy from time to time, right? And this was no different. It's just I have an outlet. It took me a while, but it wasn't like the 3 weeks I was gone. I was going through a episode. It just so happened to work out. Like again, like I said, I moved everything down here. It was mad chaotic, and I don't really like recording on my phone because it's harder to edit. Two, I don't get the right angles, and you don't know what you're gonna get until it's done. Hell, half the time with this whole setup, it don't even be right. But you try to figure it out, and then went on vacation, and at that time I wanted to be present in the moment. I didn't bring no gear out because even if I was to bring gear, excuse me, it would have been either on my phone or it would have been something where I'm taking time away from my goddaughter or my son or the family members that we was meeting with down in Orlando. And I had a good time. We got to do pool. We went to Universal. Kaden had a great time. We got some golfing. So that part was good. But the moment you come back, I think that's when the internal turmoil started happening. And I started freaking out and panicking because for 2 out of my 3 shows, I ain't recording nothing in 2 weeks. And then I'm watching the days tick by and I'm like, all right, well, why don't I just wait until Monday and then I'll just hit that again. And Monday rolls around. I didn't even do my run of shows. I've written out a couple of episodes that I wanted to do, but it was like you you have to feel it in the moment sometimes too. It's not just sit down, ramble, talk, 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 talk. Nobody wants to sit there and watch one person ramble, talk, 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 talk. I gotta give substance. I have to make sure my talking points are staying on track. I gotta make sure that I'm giving you the real me where it's relatable at the same time. Because I refuse to believe I'm the only person. I can't be the only person going through a lot of these things, right? But it 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 is what it is, and most of the time you just got to really sit there and and stop and pause if you can, right? If you even notice what it is, because like I said, some of us we're just gonna keep going. I tried. I try to keep going. I try to push through, and I try to, and then right now at the university, it's graduation week, so there's so much going on, and it's piling up, and the little pockets that you had to take care of a couple of little things, they're gone. So now, even when I'm sitting here journaling, I can't even time block right because I'm feeling like I'm behind on certain things and I'm trying to create new routines. And well, I did create new routines and I'm finally getting the groove of that. I meditated for the first time, guys. And it was actually pretty cool. Not gonna hold you. I did it right in here. I came down here and I put on the rainforest stuff, music in the background, and I sat with just that playing. I had the blue lights up, turned off the main lights, and it was just calming. And I sat there. And one thing that I learned in talking to people is like, I've always thought like you got to quiet your brain. You can't be thinking about stuff and all that good jazz. But in reality is it's okay if thoughts are going through your mind. But you could calm down all those thoughts and the chaos and all that stuff, and you're thinking more clearly because you're sitting there in the moment. I'm not grabbing phones. I'm not taking out notes. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just clearing my thoughts, not gone, but like the noise, like all the things being thrown out. And today I felt I was like, this is why people do these things. It is very calming. Right. But let me get back on track. I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's something that I'm trying mornings and evenings, my prayers and my meditation. I'm reading. Um, what else am I doing? Preparing better and journaling. Definitely like actually blocking time to actually like really journal, not just be scribbling all over the place. Um, So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna try. I'm going to do this for about. I want to push for 90 days. I want to get in a good habit of this routine that I built out for the morning and the night. Is it gonna be perfect? We all know how chaos works. It's not gonna be perfect, but just like we're gonna talk about in this episode, it'll help for when you're feeling off because you have a routine to go back to. You have a center base to go back to, right? And I want to see if it'll help because I don't know what triggered this last episode because I wasn't all the way like full on depressed and sad and all. Like I was working, I was doing stuff. It's just I didn't feel like me. And those that go through it, you know what I'm talking about. You just don't feel like you. You're going through the motions. But and most of the times we treat these feelings as if like it's something to ignore instead of something to actually understand, right? Because one thing I learned through therapy is trying to find what was the trigger points, what just happened, what is it that I'm feeling in at that moment. Even though if you can't, you just know something's off and you just can't explain it, but that's okay. For the longest time when I first started, I used to sit there and I would write down what was I doing, what was I thinking about when the feelings first started coming up. Because I know not nothing's wrong, but it might also not feel right at the same time. I'm still functioning, I'm still showing up, but it doesn't hit the way during the day and it shows up in the wrong times. So you know something just ain't right and it's so quiet, it's so subtle. The way for me, like it just comes and it just calm. It's like I can't say it's like a calming effect because it's not a calming effect, but it just comes over. You just know that something just isn't right. Um, and my prompt question for this one is it's funny because I'm kind of going off script because it's not a script, but it's like I have prompts and talking points. But I'm sitting here thinking, and it asks, when was the last time you felt off but couldn't explain why? And for me, it was last week. Last week, I knew I was off, but I didn't know. I don't remember any trigger points. I don't remember anything being too chaotic and crazy that it's gonna send me into a tailspin. It just one of those things. It just happened, right? And um, yeah. So it was. I think the part of it that was more difficult was the fact that I could not figure out why, where, and you try to figure out is there any new stressors, anything that was going on. Just couldn't figure it out. It was just one of those weeks. Life was probably life and it triggered something. I don't know. But one thing that I do know, and one thing that I want those that are going through it just like me, is we don't need to explain it. We just got to acknowledge that something is off. And I think that's the part. I think we're so focused on trying to explain the feeling or explain what's happening as opposed to just acknowledging it. Let's acknowledge it and not push past it, right? And what makes it even more confusing is when everything around you looks like it's working, but yet you still just have that feeling. When life looks right but feels wrong, right? It leaves you with a feeling of disconnection. Everything looks good on paper, but it doesn't feel fulfilling at the same time. And I think that's what I was going through last week. Every time I sat down to actually sit and record, it was one of those situations where it was like, it looks great, it sounds great, but it doesn't feel great. It's not fulfilling me the way that it normally would. I'm not saying that every episode that I've ever sat down to record is fulfilling and made me feel great and oh my God, rah, rah, rah. No, there's times I sit here, I'm tired. I don't know where I was going with the episode. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying that sometimes I'd be looking at the prompts. I was like, wait, what am I trying to talk about here? but you push through. But this time it was more than just a push through situation. It wasn't what I had written down. It wasn't none of that. It was just something was off. Still making progress, but it didn't feel connected to me. And although I'm doing what I said I was going to do, but something still feels missing. So therefore, you're looking at the papers, you're looking at the journals, you're looking at the notes that you did, and you're looking at the boxes, you're actually checking stuff. But then when you sit down and you be like, I don't know what it is that I accomplished today. That's the part of the fulfillment, when you sit in there and you're questioning, what did I even do today? Like, I know I checked some things, but was it like productive check of boxes type situation, or is it just I'm going through the motions and the rigmaroles and all that other good jazz? Because checking boxes without feeling present is not what we're trying to do. We don't want to just check boxes to check boxes. That's leading us into a pathway that we're not really trying to go down, And I asked me and I asked you, have you ever had a moment where everything looked right, but you still didn't feel right? Yes. Not just last week. There's plenty of times. It could be a random day where everything is going right and it feels right, it looks right, but deep down inside, I was just going through the motions, right? Because just because it's working doesn't mean it's working for you at the same time. It might not be. You know what? Sometimes I feel as though the reason that I'm feeling off is because it's not aligning with who I say that I am and what it is that I'm trying to do, what it is that I'm trying to become. So that internal feeling is kind of telling you something. And after a while, you realize you're not really feeling it. You're just going through it. And there's a difference, right? Going through it just to ignore it, or going through it to actually feel it. Going through it, not living it, right? Sometimes that creates a massive disconnect to yourself. Your days start to feel like it's automatic, like you're on autopilot. And I think a lot of us, that's what we tend to do. We put that autopilot on, we go on cruise control, we just go, because we have to just keep moving, even if we know and we feel like this is not what we're not being true to ourselves. You know what I mean? I said that I'm building these routines, but these routines is to create more consistency. It's to create better sleep habits, better workout, better. I'm not creating routines just to go through life. I'm creating routines in order to build and do what I say that I want to do. Not just because it's what it's expecting of me, it's because it's aligning with me. Because you can physically show up all day, every day, but if you're mentally and emotionally checked out, what's the point? Right? You could be in the presence of somebody, but if you're not there mentally and emotionally, and you're just checked out, what is the point? And you could be doing that to yourself. You literally could have checked out of yourself because you're not walking in your purpose. You're not walking in your alignment. Just think like in this past, I'm gonna use me as an example. We haven't been with each other for 3 weeks. Where in your life were you just going through the motions instead of actually being present? Last week, instead of actually just going through the motions, I decided to just let me chill. I'm not gonna put, and I told you guys on this episode, on this show, and on my other shows as well. I'm not just gonna put stuff out just to put it out. I'd rather just let the algorithm screw me over. Is that always going to be the case? There's going to be days where it's like, you're still going to have to do it. And maybe it'll be a little bit easier or even more aligned and fulfilled once I start bringing you on the guests, right? Because now you're not just talking with yourself and going through them. This is, to be honest, this is like therapy for me, to be honest. I get to talk through a lot of stuff, but sometimes you need to get another perspective. That's why there's therapists out there. That's why there's friends out there. That's why there's family, there's colleagues that you could actually talk certain things through with, right? That's the part about being present. You're not stuck. You're just disconnected. You're disconnected because of the simple fact that you're not moving with intention or within your alignment. You're just going through the motions because you want to check the box. You want to say that you accomplished something. And you're just going to keep brushing off these feelings, knowing that you feel off, knowing that this is not with your alignment. You're going to sit there, you're going to brush it off. And then you start to realize it's actually pointing you towards something. Those feelings that you're doing, that internal turmoil that you're battling right now, it's pointing you towards something. Something is out of alignment. And that's what these feelings are trying to tell you. Something's not right. We need to slow down for a second and figure out what it is that we're feeling. Are we outgrowing situations, habits, direction? Sometimes in your life it doesn't fit the right way it used to anymore. So you're internally or subconsciously, whatever word you want to use, Lee, is telling you, hey, this ain't working no more. We might need a pivot here. Hey, we might need to align ourselves with this. I know this was the pathway and this was the direction that we wanted to, but that just led us to here so that we could know that, okay, I was on the right path, but it was leading me towards something else. But we're not gonna know if it's leading us towards something else if we're just sitting there going through the motions, rather than sitting there actually making sure that we're still walking within our purpose, walking in our alignment. We're just going through the motions. Your actions and your mindset are fully matching what you say that you want to do. That's such a tough part because going through it, but mentally you're not here. It's not aligned. It's not matching. Growth has happened, but your situation hasn't caught up yet. That's the tricky part. You're growing, but because you're not making sure that you're on the right place, or you didn't realize that it was time for you to pivot, your growth is not catching up with your mindset, or your mindset is not catching up to your growth. Sometimes, like I said, you just outgrow something. But we have to know when we outgrow something that we have to adjust to that what we just outgrown. If your life doesn't feel like it fits the way it used to, there's a reason. There's a reason. We all go through these phases where it's like, what's that line? Some people are there in your life for a reason or a season. Remember that part. It's not just the reason part. I think we just so focus on the reason part, and because we get in our feelings about certain things, but sometimes it's just for a season. Just like things that we're doing, things that we say that we'll accomplish, things that we're working towards, it might have just been for that season. Go through it, then you move on from it, you pivot from it, right? Sometimes the growth is what's making us feel off. It's gonna make us feel off before it actually makes sense. I don't know why. One like I said, it was 3 weeks we haven't seen each other and had any type of content. You're talking about 1 week. It was because you had to move, right? You moved into the studio that you built out for this stuff. Yeah, it's chaotic or whatever, but I could have still done it. It took me all of maybe an hour to get a simple setup. It ain't like I don't know how to plug the mic back into the roadcaster. I didn't know how to put my teleprompter back up. I didn't know how to put the screen back up. There's a bunch of stuff that's not connected right now. That's not working the way it's supposed to be working. It's not positioned where it's supposed to be positioned. The art is literally sitting on my couch. Could fall in the middle of the episode. I don't know. Right. But I was in the process of looking for perfection, going through the motions. Oh, it has to be this way before I could do it. Why? I thought we outgrew that. Guess we didn't, you know? And I'm growing and I'm learning and it's starting to make more sense to me because of that. And sometimes sometimes it's not the something that is wrong. It's the something that's being ignored. That's the part that makes it feel wrong. You already know what it is. Sometimes you're choosing comfort over clarity because we've been doing it this way and it's been working this way and it's been aligning with my pathway, but something's off and I'm just fighting it. But you're fighting it because it's been good so far. We're comfortable now. We don't want to get out of this box. What do you mean? Like it's working well for us. But that's where you have to pivot. Some of us are avoiding it because facing it will require change. Choosing comfort now over clarity later. Like even to myself, it just doesn't make any sense. Avoiding it ain't going to change the situation. It's still going to require change, whether you like it or not. You could fight that all you want. You need to do the change that is pointing you towards. We all know there's something out here that we haven't fully faced yet because we don't want to do the change. Clarity doesn't come from searching. It comes from being honest with ourselves. Sometimes we won't be able to explain it. But if we stop in that moment and instead of trying to explain it, we actually acknowledge it, that's us being honest with ourselves. Because we don't have to sit there and try to search and figure out what is going on. Why am I feeling like this? Just acknowledge it and let it see where it's going to take you. It's taking you somewhere for a reason. And the moment you stop avoiding it, now the feeling isn't confusing anymore. It gets a little bit clearer. The signal that your body's been telling you, that your subconscious has been telling you, it becomes clearer. You stopped avoiding it. The patterns start to make a little bit more sense. Things you've ignored started connecting together. Your awareness increases once you actually look at it. There's no more confusion. There's no more chaos because we acknowledged it. And then now we're seeing, okay, where is it taking me? Why is it taking me in this direction? It gets a little bit clearer and a little bit clearer. And then that feeling starts to dissipate. You know why it started to dissipate? Because it's starting to get clearer. It's putting you on a pathway that you were supposed to be going there. You're coming out of your comfort zone. You're accepting the change that you needed to do because it still aligns with who you said that you was trying to become. When I say define it, build it, live it, the definition ain't set in stone. It could change over time as clarity comes. Building it, we've talked about this episode 1 or 2 where we talked about it's like a house structure. We could tear it down, put it back up, dig deeper into the foundation, add a basement, extend it back, extend it up. There's so much that could happen. But we so focused on having the 4 walls and the roof and calling it a day, but you could do more. You could do more. But we're choosing not to because we're comfortable. It fits right now. But you could outgrow it. You could outgrow that house. Now you need a little bit more house. You might need a couple more walls. You might need another level. You might need that basement to put a studio in so you could feel more comfortable in doing what you need to be doing. You have to sit there and tell yourself, what has this feeling been telling me the whole time? Because if you can't sit there and pause for 2 seconds and try to figure out what is it trying to show me? Maybe it's not a bad feeling that I'm feeling. I think sometimes we associate it as bad rather than sitting, stopping, reflecting, and really trying to get to the root of it all. And sometimes you're never going to get to the root of all. You're just not. You was just in a bad mood. You was just in a bad feeling. You was getting a little sad, getting a little depressed, but it's okay because life, and it punch you in the mouth and you're going to get off that mat because we're not going to stay in that comfort zone. So now it's not about how you feel. It's about what you do when you actually get to that point. A lot of us We're so quick to ignore it just to make sure that we're getting the things on our checkbox completed. And I'm sorry, it's the wrong answer sometimes. When you ignore a problem, whether you think it's a problem or not, because sometimes it might not even be a problem. Like I said, it might just be pointing you towards your new alignment. But we so focused on going through the motions of things that we're forgetting, and then we'd rather just ignore the situation. But brushing off that feeling, it's not going to make it any better. It's not going to feel like it actually matters now. Stop filling your time just to avoid thinking about it. Going through the motions, making sure that we're checking all the boxes, making sure like on paper everything looks great. But all you're doing is filling your time to avoid thinking about the situation that you're in. Actually sit in that feeling. I talked about doing meditation for the first time. I got to sit in that feeling. And yes, there were still thoughts in my head, but it seemed a lot clearer. Like it made sense. It wasn't just a bunch of noise clashing with each other. In that moment, this morning, for that 12 minutes, it made sense. I was able to actually go back to my journal after the fact and look at what I had written down, and I got to like reconstruct it because I gave myself time to sit in it, think about it, feel it, acknowledge what was going on in my head. Actually sitting with it instead of fighting it and running away from it. Like ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped ignoring this feeling and actually sat with it? If we're already feeling bad, do you think it's going to get worse? Chances are it's going to get better, right? I would assume. I'm trying to think in my scenario and in my situations, does it get better when I sit in it? I can't whole honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I can't even answer that because sometimes, even though I know what possibly might have triggered it, I sat in it and I felt, I still would rather just leave that over there and let's just keep it pushing. But that's not the way to get through it sometimes. Avoiding that signal is not it doesn't silence it. It doesn't stop it. It's just delaying the inevitable. I'm a firm believer that everything's already been written. Yes, we have free will. Yes, we have choices on certain things, but the choice that you make, it's still part of the storyline. You just chose A or B. So if we have free will to change what's already been written, why can't we sit in it for a split second and actually think certain things through and not delay the inevitable? The inevitable could be a good thing. I know it sounds daunting and all that stuff. I know life is life and then it could be chaotic, but that delay could be a good thing. And once you sit with it, you don't need to panic anymore. You just need to respond differently. We don't have to overreact. We could just adjust to the situation. You don't need to change everything at once. And I think even myself, I think sometimes I'm thinking like, oh my God, I'm going into one of my moods. I need to fix this right now. And these are the calm the F down. Actually, let me rephrase that. I think that was a good time for a good curse word. Calm the fuck down. You're overreacting. You just need to adjust slightly sometimes. You don't have to change everything all at once. You didn't get here by everything happening all at once. Focus on the small intentional things that you could do right now. Small intentional adjustments will go a whole lot further. Shift your direction without even having to overreact to certain things. Overreactions, overcorrecting, and all that other stuff. It's not really adjusting. Hey, relax. Don't fall down now. Embarrass me while I'm recording. You're not by overreacting. It's not going to fix your situation right then and there. When you're panicking, it's not going to fix anything for you. Clarity is what you need in that moment. And you could get that if you just calm down. If we live in panic, we're always going to be in chaos nonstop. And the patterns is going to keep continuing, and then you're going to divert from and go in a different direction that you was never supposed to go down in the first place. But that's only because you was panicking. That's because you're trying to overcorrect something when all it should have been was a slight adjustment. Ask yourself right now, what is one of the things that you could adjust right now? A small adjustment that'll change the direction of everything that you've been dealing with or going through. You don't need a reset. You need a realignment. And I treated moving down here as a whole reset. No, it's just a realignment. Got my nice little comfortable couch now. I wanted to get a right angle for the cameras or whatever the case may be. I got to reposition bookcases because there's going to be 3 studios technically in here. But visually, stop worrying about all that. Turn the camera on. Put a little picture of Harry Potter right here, poker over here. I'm good. You know, just get to the people. Just realign. It's still the same stuff he was doing upstairs. It's still the same messaging. It's still the same story arcs. And the people been waiting for guests. You got to get through these story arcs so we can get to the guests, man. People want to talk to other people about what legacy means to them, how they define it, how they live in it, how they building it. But every time you keep delaying it, you're not giving the people the things that they need, man. They need to hear from more than just you being me. We need those other conversations. We need those other voices to step in here because I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. Real change doesn't come from doing more. It comes from moving with intention. We've talked about that. Moving with intention. Start making decisions that actually align with what you feel. Not the feeling in the moment that's creating problems for you internally. But moving with intention to either realign, adjust, or go down the direction, making sure that you're still in the right alignment. Move with the purpose instead of staying busy. Busy is not always good. Busy just means you're moving along. It looks great. It sounds great. But you're still in the same spot. That's the crazy part about being busy than actually moving with attention. You're going to wake up the next day still in the same spot. You're going to wake up the day after that still in the same spot. Because you're not moving with intention. You're moving just to stay busy. You're moving to say that you did something that day. Like I said, there's been plenty of times where I sat down and I looked, I have a lot of check marks, but then I still feel as though, what the heck did I do today? The problem is I never really focus on what actually matters. Sometimes it's right in front of me. I could get that small win right now that's going to catapult into something bigger. But I'm so focused on the bigger thing. I move down here, I got to set everything up. No, you don't. You just need the camera working. You need the sound coming out of the audio. And you need a screen to make sure you can see what's going on. One speaker to hear everything. And if you don't have a speaker, put the headphones on. You're a visual person, throw something. It's not like it's hooked up to the wall. All I did is just prompt up on the couch. It didn't take that much. It ain't that difficult. This one's prompt up on the armrest. Focus on the little things, man. Stop looking so much at the bigger picture side of things, because that's when you're gonna get out of alignment. You're gonna start working out of chaos. Let your actions reflect what you now understand. Are your actions aligned with what you actually want? The signal shows you the direction. Your action is gonna take you there. The direction is gonna be right there. That's what the turmoil is. That's what you're going through right now. But now that once you figure it out, what are you gonna do with it? What actions are you going to take? What steps are you going to take? You still going to keep focusing on the bigger thing and not working on the little things? You want to get to the bigger things so much that all the little things are just sitting over there piling up. You so busy on the big picture aspect. Let me do the, but everything else is like in flux. Now the question isn't why you feel off. It's what are you going to do about it? That's key right there. You could maybe figure it out, but what are you going to do about it? Let's run through a couple questions and thoughts to think through some of this stuff, because this stuff ain't easy. It ain't easy at all. Sometimes you just got to figure out, when did you start feeling off? And what was happening around? I tell you, that's one of the best things that my therapist ever told me. What were you doing when you first started feeling off, and what was happening around you at that time? Because that moment usually holds more truth than you give it credit for. You might be ready to brush it off, but if you actually sit there and think about what was happening, what was I doing, who was around me, what was in my environment, and sometimes you don't even need to answer all those questions. One of those questions being answered will give you a whole lot more clarity. And then now it's up to you. You answer the questions, you got the clarity. What are you going to do about it? The things we ignore don't go away. They just sit and wait. They wait, and they're going to keep waiting. They ain't going to go nowhere until you actually move with some actual action behind the clarity that you just received. Where in your life right now are you showing up but not fully present? Because we talked about it. Being physically there doesn't mean that you're mentally there. When you're mentally, emotionally checked out, a physical being sitting there is useless to you. It's useless to your family, your friends, your business, your job, whatever it is. You're useless at that moment. What do you already know needs to change, but you've just been avoiding it? Because clarity you found and not faced is pointless. You could find the clarity, but don't face it. What is the point? Clarity's here, you're here. How are we going to meet in the middle to fix it? How are we facing it? And if you're really being honest with yourself, what would alignment actually look like for you right now? Do you even know what that is? What that looks like? What does your alignment look like? For me right now, when it comes to this media stuff, it's getting back to the content, putting out good product. Does that mean it's going to be for everybody? No. I can't make an episode for everybody. This episode might just resonate with 3 people, or it might resonate with 300 people. I don't know. But I'm back in my bag. The camera's on. The mic is on. And I'm being truthful. I'm being vulnerable. We're taking this journey together. That's all I've asked of. We're going to build this legacy together in real time. Because once you can see it clearly, you can start moving towards it. And once you're actually truly honest about what you see, now you have a chance to move differently. And the truth is, feeling off is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're lost. It for sure doesn't mean that you're failing. It means something is trying to get your attention. Because that feeling, no matter how much we think it is, it's not random. It's a signal. Not telling you to panic, not telling you to overreact, not telling you to just quit, not telling you to stop, not telling you to start all over. It might be telling you to slow down. It might be telling you let's really take home on what's going on. What's happening around us? Are we still in alignment? Because once you now see it clearly, now you have a choice. You could keep moving the same way you've been moving. Cool. Or you can make the smarter, you can be smart and start making the adjustments. That'll bring you back into alignment, or bring you into the actual alignment that you were supposed to be in. And remember, it doesn't have to be everything all at once. It just has to be intentional. Because sometimes in life, we get used to surviving more than being actual functional. So used to just trying to get through the day that we stop checking in with ourselves sometimes, completely checked out. And after a while, we don't even realize how disconnected we've become. Disconnected from our peace, disconnected from clarity, disconnected from ourselves, from the moments, from the opportunities. But the moment you finally stop and pay attention to what you've been feeling, that's where the shift starts. Not because everything suddenly changed overnight, but because now you're aware. And awareness changes the way you move. So if you're feeling off, don't ignore it. Don't push past it. Pay attention to it. Go back and sit in it. Listen to what it's trying to show you. Like I said, feeling off is not failure. It's feedback. It's your mind. It's your spirit asking you, begging you, pleading with you to listen. And maybe for the first time in a long time, to finally be honest about what you really need. And if this episode connected with you in some way, if you're the 3 or the 300, let's slow down. Let's reflect. See yourself a little bit clearer. That's when I feel as though this conversation was bigger than content, because it gave you something to think about. And if it did give you something to think about, go ahead and subscribe to Dear Legacy. Drop a comment. Let me know. Follow us on social media. But most importantly, share it with somebody building their legacy in real time. Till then, go define it. Go build it. Go live it to the fullest of your capability. Listen to that voice inside. Slow down for 2 seconds. Find your clarity. Till then, it's your boy Kevin B. the Brand. See you next week, y'all. Peace.